Nyagoka stood frozen, her heart racing as she stared at the two red lines on the pregnancy test. Her hands trembled and the test slipped from her fingers, clattering against the marble floor of her luxurious bathroom. She pressed her hand to her mouth, fighting the urge to scream. This couldn't be happening. Not now, not like this. Her mind wild, a storm of thoughts crashing into each other. Memories flooded in, unbidden and unforgiving. The secret smiles, the stolen glances, the late nights spent laughing softly in the kitchen while the rest of the world slept. The warmth of his arms, the way his rough hands had gently held us, it was him. It was always him, but now she was carrying his child. Grace and sophistication, he never cared about her heart, but Kamau did. Kamau, the watchman who guarded their mansion gates with unwavering loyalty, had seen her tears when no one else did. He had been her solace, her friend, and then so much more. It had started innocently, just casual conversation whenever she came home late from the office. Then the evening stretched longer, filled with laughter and stories from his humble background. Before she knew it, she had fallen for his sincerity, his kindness, his simplicity. Her world had shattered the first time she realized she was in love with him. She tried to fight it, to stay loyal to her husband, but loneliness was a cruel companion. Otieno was never there, but Kamau always was. They had shared secret dinners, laughed over burnt chapatis in the kitchen, and stolen kisses under the moonlight. And now she was pregnant. A sharp knock on the bathroom door snapped her out of her thoughts. Her heart leaped into her throat. "Madam, are you okay?" It was Kamau's voice, filled with concern. He had seen her rush to the bathroom as soon as she came home. "You've been in there for a while." Nyagoka's legs felt weak. She leaned against the sink, trying to steady herself. How would she tell him? How would she explain this? No one could ever find out. Not Otieno, not the gossiping housemates, not anyone. This secret could ruin everything. But as her hand rested protectively on her belly, she knew she couldn't hide it forever. Sooner or later, the truth would come out, and when it did, her life would never be the same. Nyagoka took a deep breath, trying to steady her racing heart before opening the bathroom door. Kamau stood there, his face etched with worry. His rugged features softened as he looked at her, his eyes searching hers. "Are you feeling unwell?" he asked, his voice gentle. She forced a smile, her hands moving to her silk dress. "I'm fine, just a little tired." Kamau's eyes lingered on her for a moment longer before he nodded, his shoulders relaxing. "I was about to make tea. Would you like some?" Nyagoka's heart fluttered. Only Kamau could be so thoughtful. "Yes, please." She followed him to the kitchen, her mind still swirling with the secret she was now carrying. The kitchen was a sanctuary, the only place in the mansion that truly felt like home. It was where she and Kamau would spend evenings together, cooking and laughing like old friends. Otieno had no interest in such things. To him, the kitchen was a place for servants, not for a billionaire's wife. But Kamau saw her differently. He never treated her like she was above him. He saw her as Nyagoka, the woman who loved spicy tea, who laughed at his silly jokes, and who craved the simple joys of life. He moved easily around the kitchen, boiling water and adding tea leaves to the pot. "I met Mama Jerry today," he said, his tone light. She was complaining about the price of onions again. Nyagoka laughed, the sound easing some of the tension in her chest. "Ha, Elle, that woman never stopped, does she?" Kamau laughed. "She said she'd march to the governor's office if the prices don't go down. I told her she should take you with her. Maybe you'd scare them into reducing the prices." Nyagoka gasped in mock offense. "Are you calling me scary?" He chuckled, his laughter rich and warm. "No, but you're aggressive when you want to be." For a moment, she forgot her worries. She forgot about Otieno's absence, about the loneliness that haunted her nights, about the secret she was hiding. Kamau had a way of doing that, of making her feel alive again. They sat at the kitchen table, sipping their tea in comfortable silence. It was the simplicity of moments like this that she cherished most. No pretense, no expectation, just two people sharing laughter and stories. She looked at him, really looked at him. His broad shoulders, his strong hands that were rough from hard work, his warm smile that could melt her heart. How had she fallen for him? A watchman who had nothing to offer but his kindness and time. But that was just it. He gave her what Otieno never did: time, attention, and love. Her gaze drifted to his lips, remembering the way they felt on hers. She swallowed hard, guilt twisting in her stomach. She shouldn't feel this way. It was wrong, but it felt so right. "Madam," Kamau's voice broke through her thoughts, his eyes curious. "Are you sure you are okay?" Nyagoka quickly looked away, her cheeks flushing. "Yes, I'm fine." She set her cup down, the warmth of the tea doing little to soothe her nerves. "I should go rest. It's been a long day." Kamau stood up, his expression softening. "If you need anything, I'm just outside." She nodded, forcing another smile. "Thank you, Kamau." As she walked away, she felt his eyes on her, watching her with tenderness that made her heart ache. How could something that felt so beautiful be so wrong? Nyagoka closed her bedroom door and leaned against it, tears pricking at the corners of her eyes. She was living a lie, trapped between a marriage that suffocated her and a love that could never be. Sleep eluded Nyagoka that night. She tossed and turned, her mind tangled with faint confusion. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Otieno's face, cold, distant, indifferent. Would he even care if he found out, or would he just be angry that she spoiled his name? Her phone buzzed, shattering the heavy silence. She grabbed it quickly, her heart skipping a beat. It was a message from Otieno. Landed safely. Meetings all day tomorrow. Hope you're keeping busy. No, I miss you. No, I love you. Just another cold, impersonal update. Nyagoka's fingers moved over the screen, tempted to ask when he'd be back. But she knew better. He would return when business allowed, just like always. She was just another responsibility to him, an asset he had acquired to maintain his perfect image. Her chest tightened. She couldn't breathe. She needed air. She needed Kamma. Without thinking, she threw on her shawl and slipped out of the room. The hallway was dim, the house quiet. She moved quickly, her footstep light against the polished floor. The servants had all retired to their quarters and no one would question her wandering the mansion at night. She reached the front door and pushed it open, stepping out into the cool night air. The garden was bathed in silver moonlight, the flowers swaying gently in the breeze. She wrapped the shawl tighter around herself and walked toward the gatehouse, her heart pounding. Kamma was sitting outside, his posture relaxed as he leaned against the wall, his gaze fixed on the stars above. Nyagoka hesitated, watching him from a distance. He looked so peaceful, so content. It was a stark contrast to the chaos she was feeling inside. As if sensing her presence, Kamma turned, his face lighting up in surprise. "Madam, what are you doing out here?" He quickly stood up, concern evident in his voice. "Is everything all right?" Nyagoka's chest tightened at the tenderness in his eyes. She had come this far, there was no turning back now. "I couldn't sleep," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I needed someone to talk to." Kamma's shoulders relaxed, his expression softening. "You can always talk to me." She took a step closer, her eyes searching his. "Do you mean that?" His gaze held hers, unwavering. "I've always meant it." They stood there in the moonlight, a fragile silence wrapping around them. Nyagoka felt her heart pounding, her emotions running out of control. She opened her mouth to speak, to tell him everything, but the words refused to come out. Kamma must have noticed her inner turmoil because he gently touched her shoulder, his hand warm and steady. "Hey, whatever it is, you don't have to face it alone." His touch was her undoing. Without warning, tears streamed down her face, her shoulders shaking as she broke down. Kamma's eyes widened, and before she could push him away, he pulled her into his arms, holding her close. Nyagoka sobbed against his chest, her fist gripping his shirt as she let out all the pain she had been holding inside. The loneliness, the fear, the guilt, it all came crashing down. Kamma's hand stroked her back, his voice soothing as he whispered, "It's okay, I'm here. I won't let anything hurt you." His words shattered the last of her resolve. She looked up at him, at his strict face illuminated by the moonlight. His eyes were filled with concern, his expression tender and protective. And in that moment, all the rules, all the consequences, all the guilt disappeared. Nyagoka closed the distance between them, her lips finding his in desperate aching kiss. Kamma froze, his body tensing as the shock registered, but then he melted into her, his arms tightening around her as he kissed her back. The world faded away, leaving only the two of them locked in that forbidden embrace. When they finally broke apart, they were both breathless, their faces inches apart. Kamma's eyes were wide with disbelief, his voice her whisper, "Nyagoka, we can't." But Nyagoka shook her head, her fingers brushing against his cheek. I don't care about the rules, I don't care about anything except you." Kamma's face softened, his resolve crumbling. He leaned his forehead against hers, his voice breaking. "Then I'm yours for as long as you want me. I love you." Nyagoka closed her eyes, her heart swelling with the emotion she couldn't name. She knew it was wrong, she knew she was risking everything, but in Kamma's arms she finally felt alive, and nothing else mattered. Days turned into weeks, and Nyagoka found herself living a double life. By day, she was the elegant and classy billionaire wife, managing their businesses and uploading the perfect image her husband demanded. But by night, she was Nyagoka, a woman in love, sneaking out to the ghettos to be with Kamma. Their secret affair grew bolder. They spent evenings under the stars, talking for hours about dreams and fears, laughing over silly jokes and stealing kisses when no one was watching. In Kamma's arms, Nyagoka found a happiness she had never known. It was raw, real, and terrifying. But the thrill of secrecy came with its dangers. The housemaids started whispering about Madame's late-night walks, and the nosy gardener once saw Kamma slipping out of the main house at dawn. Nyagoka's heart raced every time someone looked at her for a moment too long, afraid they could see her guilt. Otieno's absence made the affair easier. He was always traveling, always busy with meetings, always too far away to notice the love blooming right under his nose. But his infrequent calls reminded her that this delicate house of cards could come crashing down any moment. Yet she couldn't stop, not when Kamma looked at her with such tenderness, not when he held her as if she was his entire world. She was hopelessly in love, and for once she didn't care about the consequences. One evening, as Nyagoka sat in the garden with Kamma, lost in his smile, she heard footsteps approaching. Her blood ran cold. It was Wanjiru, the head maid. Nyagoka quickly stood up, her heart pounding. Kamma, we should... But it was too late. Wanjiru appeared, her eyes narrowing as she saw them together. Madam, is everything all right? Nyagoka forced a laugh, her pulse racing. Yes, I was just asking Kamma about the new security lights Otieno wanted installed. Wanjiru's gaze flicked between them, suspicion evident. Nyagoka held her breath, praying she would believe the lie. After a tense moment, Wanjiru nodded. Very well, madam, I'll go check on the dinner. She walked away, her posture stiff. Nyagoka let out a shaky breath, her legs trembling. Kamma reached for her hand, his grip firm. We need to be more careful, he whispered, his eyes dark with worry. She nodded, but even as she agreed, she knew she couldn't stop. The thrill of their stolen moments, the way he made her feel, it was worth the risk. But the close call haunted her, a reminder that they were walking on thin ice. One wrong move and everything would crumble. Otieno called, announcing another business trip. This time, he'd be away for an entire week. Nyagoka's heart raced, excitement bubbling inside her. It was the perfect opportunity. She told the servants she was going to visit her sister for a few days, leaving strict instruction that no one should disturb her. In reality, she and Kamma went to a secluded cabin far away from the city, a place where no one knew them. For the first time, they were free. They went on long walks, cooked together, and danced under the moonlight. Kamma showed her how to roast maize by the fire, laughing when she burnt hers. Nyagoka had never felt so alive. They spent lazy afternoons curled up together, whispering about dreams and the future. Kamma's eyes would light up as he spoke of his wish to open a small car repair shop someday. Nyagoka listened, her heart aching at how simple his dreams were, compared to the complicated life she was living. But reality waited for them back home, and as the weekend ended, they both felt the weight of the world creeping back in. Nyagoka knew they couldn't stay in this fantasy forever, but she wished they could. It started with nausea. At first, Nyagoka thought it was just the stress catching up to her, but then the dizziness came, the fatigue, the odd cravings she couldn't explain. Kamma noticed his brow furrowing with worry. You should see a doctor, he urged, his concern genuine. Nyagoka brushed it off, laughing nervous. It's nothing, I've just been overworking myself. But deep down, she knew even before she bought the pregnancy test, she knew even before she locked herself in the bathroom and waited for the result. And when she saw the two red lines, her world shattered. She was pregnant. Her hands trembled as she stared at the test, fear clawing at her throat. There was no denying it now. This was real, this was happening, and it wasn't Otieno's child. Nyagoka knew she couldn't hide it from Kamma. He deserved to know, but how would he react? Would he be angry? Would he abandon her? She was terrified. That night, she went to the gatehouse, her heart pounding. Kamma smiled when he saw her, his face lighting up as usual, but his smile faded as he saw the fear in her eyes. Nyagoka, what's wrong? She took a shaky breath, her voice breaking. I'm pregnant. Kamma's eyes widened, shock freezing his features. You are carrying my child? His voice was a whisper, his face pale. Nyagoka nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. Yes, it's yours. Kamma stared at her, his emotion she couldn't define, but then his face softened, his eyes filling with tears. He reached out, his hand trembling as he touched her belly. We are having a baby. Nyagoka choked on a sob, nodding as she leaned into his touch. Yes, we are. Kamma pulled her into his arms, holding her as if she was the most precious thing in the world. I'll protect you, he whispered, both of you, no matter what. Nyagoka tried to carry on as if everything was normal, but the weight of her secret was suffocating. She wore loose dresses, hoping to hide her growing belly, and avoided everyone's gaze, terrified they would notice. Otieno's occasional calls became unbearable. Each time he asked if she was alright, she felt like screaming. How could she be alright when she was carrying another man's child, a man Otieno trusted with his own home? Guilt filled her, stealing her appetite and haunting her dreams. Kamma did his best to comfort her, but even his love couldn't ease her fears. She was living a lie, and sooner or later the truth would come out. Nyagoka's world came crashing down when Otieno called, his voice excited for the first time in years. Surprise, my love. I finished my meetings early. I'll be home tomorrow. Her heart stopped, the blood draining from her face. Tomorrow? He couldn't come home tomorrow. She wasn't ready. She hadn't planned for this. Panic gripped her, her mind racing. How will she hide the pregnancy? What will she tell him? And worst of all, how will she keep him from discovering her affair with Kamma? Nyagoka paced the living room, her nerves spread as she waited for Otieno's arrival. She had barely slept, her mind plagued with anxiety. She wore a flowing dress to hide a small bump, hoping he wouldn't notice. The sound of car engine echoed outside, followed by footsteps. Her heart pounded. She forced herself to smile as Otieno walked in, his suitcase in hand. He looked the same, tall, composed, his face emotionless as always. Nyagoka, he greeted, his voice flat. He leaned in for a brief hug, his embrace cold and distant. "Welcome back," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. Otieno looked around, his eyes scanning the house. "I trust everything was in order while I was away." "Yes, everything was fine," she lied, her palms sweating. She prayed he wouldn't ask too many questions. But Otieno was more interested in his work than his wife. He spent the evening in his office making calls and typing away on his laptop. Nyagoka breathed a sigh of relief, grateful for the reprieve. But she knew this was just the beginning. Keeping a secret with him around would be a challenge, and with Kamma so close, temptation was a constant danger. She couldn't afford any mistakes, not now. With Otieno back, Nyagoka and Kamma were forced to keep their distance, but their eyes found each other whenever they were in the same room. A stolen glance, a lingering look, a brief smile, it was torture. One afternoon, Nyagoka found herself in the garden, watering the flowers. Kamma was nearby trimming the hedges, his muscles flexing as he worked. She watched him, her heart aching. How could he be so close yet so far? Their eyes met, and for a moment, everything else faded away. But then Otieno's voice echoed from the balcony, calling her name. Nyagoka jumped, her pulse racing. She quickly looked away, pretending to be busy. Kamma's jaw tightened, his frustration evident. They were prisoners of circumstance, bound by the rules they didn't want to follow. That night, Nyagoka cried herself to sleep, longing for the man she couldn't have. Nyagoka couldn't take it anymore. She needed to see Kamma, to feel his arms around her, to hear his voice. The secrecy was tearing her apart. When Otieno announced he would be attending a late-night business dinner, Nyagoka's heart leaped with hope. The moment his car disappeared down the driveway, she rushed to the gatehouse. Kamma was waiting, his face lighting up as he saw her. Nyagoka. She ran into his arms, her tears spilling over. "I missed you," she sobbed, holding him tightly. Kamma kissed her forehead, his embrace firm and steady. "I missed you too, every day." They spent the night in each other's arms, whispering about dreams and fears, laughing softly to avoid being heard. Nyagoka felt safe, loved, and complete. But their happiness was short-lived. As she snuck back to the mansion, she nearly collided with Banjiru. The maid's eyes narrowed, suspicion evident. "Madam, where were you?" Nyagoka's heart stopped, but she quickly composed herself. I couldn't sleep. I went for a walk." Banjiru's gaze lingered on her for a moment before she nodded and walked away. Nyagoka exhaled, shakily, her chest tight with fear. Their secret was becoming harder to hide. The following days were tense. Nyagoka felt Banjiru's eyes on her, constantly watching her every move. She became paranoid, jumping at every sound, avoiding everyone's gaze. Otieno noticed her nervousness, his brows furrowing. "You've been acting strange. Is something bothering you?" Nyagoka forced a smile. "No, I'm just tired. I haven't been sleeping well." Otieno shrugged, already losing interest. "Then rest. I need you at the board meeting tomorrow." Nyagoka nodded, relief flooding her. He hadn't suspected anything, but she knew she couldn't afford to slip up again. Meanwhile, Kamma grew restless. He hated sneaking around, hated watching Nyagoka suffer in silence. "Let's leave," he suggested one night. "We can go far away and start over." Nyagoka's heart broke. As much as she wanted to, she couldn't abandon her life, her responsibility, and the man she was still legally bound to. "I can't," she whispered, tears in her eyes. "Not yet." Kamma's face fell, disappointment shadowing his future, but he held her close, whispering, "Then I'll wait, as long as it takes." The rumors started slowly, whispers in the corridors, lingering glances from the staff, hushed conversation that stopped when Nyagoka walked by. She heard the maids giggling behind her back, saw Banjiru watching her with sharp eyes. She confronted Kamma one evening, panic lacing her voice. "They are talking about us. They know." Kamma's face darkened. "I'll handle it. I won't let them hurt you." True to his words, Kamma confronted the gardener who had seen him leaving the mansion. He warned him to keep quiet, his voice firm and threatening, but the damage was already done. Banjiru approached Nyagoka the next day, her tone respectful but her words laced with accusation. "Madam, I've noticed you've been spending a lot of time outside with Kamma." Nyagoka's blood red cold, her face pale. She forced herself to stay calm, her voice steady. "Is that a problem, Banjiru?" Banjiru hesitated, her eyes narrowing. "No, madam, but people talk, and not all talk is good." Nyagoka's hand trembled as she realized how close they were to being exposed. One wrong move and everything would unravel. She went to Kamma that night, her fear evident. "We have to be more careful. If Otieno finds out," Kamma pulled her close, his voice low and determined. "He won't. I won't let him." Nyagoka's worst fear became a reality when she received an anonymous note under her bedroom door. The message was chilling. "I know your secret. Pay me or your husband finds out." Her hands trembled as she read the words, her vision blurring with fear. Who could it be? Wanjiru, the gardener, one of the maids? Her mind raced, fear consuming her. She shot the note to Kamau, her voice shaky. "They know, someone knows." Kamau's jaw tightened, anger flashing in his eyes. "I'll find out who did this. I'll make them regret." But Nyagoka stopped him, a grip firm on his arm. "No, we can't draw attention. We'll do what they want for now." They left an envelope of cash under the big acacia tree just as the note instructed. By morning, it was gone, but Nyagoka knew this was just the beginning. Whoever was behind this wouldn't stop until they had destroyed her. Otieno began noticing the changes in Nyagoka. She was quieter, more distant, and she flinched whenever he touched her. His eyes narrowed as he watched her, suspicion growing. One evening as they sat at dinner, he casually asked, "Have you been feeling well? You seem different." Nyagoka's heart skipped a bit, but she forced a smile. "I've just been tired. The business have been demanding." Otieno's gaze lingered on her, his eyes cold and calculating. "Is that all?" She looked down, her hands trembling under the table. "Yes, that's all." But Otieno wasn't convinced. He began coming home earlier than usual, watching her closely, asking more questions. He even started questioning the servants, searching for any inconsistency in their stories. Nyagoka felt the noose tightening around her neck. Otieno was getting closer to the truth, and she was running out of lies. It happened on a rainy night. Nyagoka woke up to find Otieno gone from the bed. Panic gripped her as she realized the danger. She rushed downstairs, her heart pounding. She found him in his office, his face pale as he stared at his laptop screen. Nyagoka's blood ran cold as she saw the security footage playing. It showed her and Kamau laughing together, holding hands and kissing. Otieno's voice was deadly calm. "How long?" Nyagoka's knees buckled, her hands shaking. "Otieno, how long have you been sleeping with the watchman?" he demanded, his voice icy. Tears streamed down her face as she dropped to her knees, pleading. "I never meant to hurt you. I was lonely. You were never here." Otieno's face twisted with rage. "So you decided to embarrass me, to betray me with that lowlife?" Nyagoka sobbed, her chest heaving. "I didn't plan it. It just happened." Otieno's eyes were cold, his fists clenched. "You humiliated me. You made a fool out of me." He turned away, his voice hard. Get out of my house." Nyagoka's heart shattered as she realized the life she had built was over. Kamma was waiting outside the gate, his face pale with worry. "What happened? Why are you crying?" Nyagoka threw herself into his arms, sobbing uncontrollably. "He knows. Otieno knows everything." Kamau's face darkened, his body tense. "Did he hurt you?" She shook her head. "No, but he told me to leave. He hates me, Kamau. He hates me." Kamau held her close, his voice cold. "Then we'll live together. We'll go far away and start over just like we planned." But Nyagoka hesitated, her eyes filled with fear. "He won't let us go that easily. Otieno is powerful. He'll come after us." Kamau's jaw tightened. "Then we'll fight. I won't let him take you from me." Nyagoka looked at him, her heart torn. She wanted to believe him, to run away and live a happy life with him, but reality was cruel. Otieno's influence reached far and wide. And she was carrying Kamau's child, a secret Otieno didn't know yet. Nyagoka stood outside Otieno's office, her heart pounding. She had made her choice. It was time to face him one last time. She walked in, her chin held high. Otieno looked up, his face hard and unforgiving. "Why are you here?" Nyagoka took a deep breath, her voice steady. "I came to tell you the truth. I'm pregnant, and it's Kamau's child." Otieno's eyes widened, his face twisting with anger. "You shameless woman! You dare bring that bastard's child into my house?" Nyagoka stood her ground, her voice firm. "I made mistake, but I won't lie anymore. This is my truth, and I won't hide it." Otieno's hand trembled with rage, his face red. "I should ruin you. I should destroy you and that filthy man you choose over me." Nyagoka's eyes filled with tears. "You can do whatever you want to me, but leave Kamau out of it." Otieno stared at her, his anger slowly fading into something else. Pain. "Oh no, you loved him. You love him more than you ever loved me." Nyagoka's heart broke at the vulnerability in his voice. "I'm sorry, Otieno. Never meant to hurt you." Otieno looked away, his shoulders sagging. "Go, leave my sight. I don't want to see you again." Nyagoka turned to leave, her tears falling freely, but as she reached the door, Otieno's voice stopped her. Take the child and go. I won't fight you, but don't expect a single cent from me. You made your choice. Now live with it. Nyagoka nodded, her heart heavy. I understand. Goodbye, Otieno. She walked out, her head held high, her heart shattered, but she was free to live her truth, free to be with Kamma, free to start over. And as she stepped into the sunlight, she felt her weight lift off her shoulders. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time, Nyagoka was ready to face it. This story teaches that neglect and emotional distance can create a void in relationship, leading to infidelity and heartbreak. In today's world, many relationships fail because partners prioritize work, wealth, or other commitments over emotional connection and communication. Nyagoka married Otieno for financial security, but his constant absence and lack of affection left her feeling lonely and unfulfilled. This emotional neglect pushed her towards Kamma, who gave her the attention and love she craved. This story also highlights how secrecy and lies can destroy trust, leading to devastating consequences. Nyagoka and Kamma's affair was built on deception, and once the truth came out, it shattered lives. This story also narrates the impact of social pressures and family dynamics on relationships. Nyagoka felt trapped in a loveless marriage because of societal expectations and the lifestyle she had grown accustomed to. This pressure made her choice complicated and painful. Finally, this story teaches that genuine love, open communication, and emotional support are crucial for a successful relationship. Without ease, even the most luxurious lifestyle cannot guarantee happiness or loyalty. Thank you so much for watching. Your support means everything. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Stay tuned for more exciting tales coming your way. See you in the next one, besties.